Hey guys, it's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics reporting to you live for the second time today. I want to talk to you a little bit about some surprising polling numbers to come out of a Suffolk USA Today poll that I will read to you and give you an overview, and then talk about Mike Pence. Mike Pence is polling very well, and that is a travesty because the media should be pointing out the things that I am about to point out to all of you. In the new USA Today Suffolk University poll, Americans say they have a mostly unfavorable impressions about pretty much everyone, including Donald Trump. Only Mike Pence scores a net positive rating amongst people associated with the Trump campaign, with 47% of those surveyed saying they had a generally favorable impression of him and a 35% mostly unfavorable one. The rest were undecided. So 47% favorable, 35% unfavorable, the rest undecided. That's an 11-point advantage that sets him apart from everyone else in the survey, including Donald Trump, who in this particular poll is at 45% favorable, 47% unfavorable. Hillary Clinton's favorability rating is right now 35% to 55%, a 20-point deficit that is 7 points worse than her views after the election. She's irrelevant. I'm glad they polled, but because people are, I think, understandably sick of her, but, that's some salt in the wounds. This made me angry. Impressions of Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts break even at 34% to 34%. More than 1 in 5 say they don't know enough about her to have an opinion. That gives her a lot of breathing room, but the idea that Mike Pence is polling higher than Elizabeth Warren, who, whatever you guys think about her, started the CFPB, tried to reinstate Glass-Steagall, and literally I just did a story yesterday about how she's convincing Jeff Sessions not to trample on legalization of marijuana throughout the states. She's fighting for progressive principles and things that Americans actually care about and believe in, while Mike Pence is a psycho, as I'm about to lay out to you. And by the way, this poll didn't mention Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders, according to a Huffington Post tracker, which just combines all the opinion polls, 52% favorable through 32% unfavorable. The guy's the most popular politician in the country. I don't have Obama's poll numbers in front of me, but he polls is very popular as well. So let's see, maybe share the story with everyone you know who has a semi-favorable opinion of Mike Pence, and then maybe see if they still think so after I read you guys all the horrific things that Mike Pence did in his career as a politician. Here are some real-life quotes from him. "Global warming is a myth." There, I said it. That's fun. Here's another one. "Despite the hysteria from the political class and media, smoking doesn't kill." Ugh. He doesn't even believe smoking cigarettes kills. Interesting. In 2006, he talked about believing in the constitutional amendment that marriage would be defined as between a man and a woman, arguing that, quote, "societal collapse was always brought about following an advent of the deterioration of marriage and family. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Who you're having sex with in your bedroom doesn't really seem to correlate with economic inequality and every disadvantage that's brought about by just concerns about democracies falling apart. But you know what? You stick to your kooky beliefs, you nut job." He also turned down $80 million in federal pre-K funding. So he's a Christian with all these values, but because creepy Obama was giving him the federal funding of $80 million for pre-K students, he's going to turn it down and let those kids suffer, as opposed to just taking the cash and running with it. Here's another fun little corruption fact. Back when he was on the rise and he was challenging a Democratic congressman in a Republican-leading Indiana district, campaign finance records from the 1990 effort showed that Pence, then 31 years old, had been using political donations to pay the mortgage on his house, his personal credit card bill, groceries, golf tournaments, and car payments for his wife. Campaign finance donations, campaign political donations for his golf tournament fees. Is there anything more insufferable that you've ever heard in your entire life? I don't know. Yeah, Christine says, what a douche. I agree. In the months after that 1990 defeat, Pence waged a statewide apology tour and disavowed negative campaigning. He told a local reporter that using campaign funds for personal expenses had been an exercise in naivete. I'm sure that's what it was, Mike Pence. I'm sure you're just too naive and stupid. Maybe if you're that naive, you think that using political campaign contributions for your golf tournaments is an acceptable way to go, maybe you shouldn't be running for government. There was also something outrageous with how he dealt with the HIV outbreak in his state. He basically led to it because of his draconian Ayn Randian philosophies. Here, I will read here. Pence first laid the groundwork for Indiana's HIV outbreak as a congressman back in 2011, when the House passed his amendment to defund Planned Parenthood. Then in 2016, Pence's first year as governor of Indiana, Scott County's one Planned Parenthood closed in the wake of public health spending cuts. Since that particular Planned Parenthood was also the county's only HIV testing center, there was no longer a place for the county's 24,000 residents to get tested for HIV because of the legislation that Pence put forth to close Planned Parenthood in that county. Nearly 20% of Scott County residents live below the poverty line. Injection drug use there is a major problem, leading to HIV outbreaks, obviously. Fast forward to 2015, local health officials began to report HIV cases linked to intravenous prescription opioid use in that county. Scott County residents were sharing needles and nobody was getting tested because they got rid of the Planned Parenthood testing. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. At the height of the outbreak, 20 new cases of HIV were being diagnosed each week, reaching a total of nearly 200 cases by the time the outbreak was finally out of control. I wonder why Mike Pence doesn't give a shit about HIV testing, maybe because he has 1900s or 1800s views about gay people and basically thinks that they're sinful and bad individuals and would rather, I guess, let them die than get tested for a disease that is often associated with them. Joke's on him. He started to begin to care basically because drug users who were white and were not gay were also getting HIV, and then it was spreading across Indiana, and then he panicked. In 2015, as a rash of HIV infections spread throughout rural southern Indiana, his constituents, of course, state health officials parachuted into Scott County and enrolled scores of people into Obamacare's expanded Medicaid program so they could get medical care and substance abuse treatment. Many were addicted to opioids and contracted HIV through sharing dirty needles. 2 years later, Pence is helping to lead the Republican effort to dismantle the program that helped him halt a deadly outbreak in an impoverished swath of Indiana. Yeah, douchebag's right. Dear God, the hypocrisy is unbelievable, and today he's standing behind all of these Trump administration officials laughing it up because they're going to slash Obamacare, the very program that got him out of the hole that he dug for himself in the first place. Lead poisoning. Donald Trump, I'm sorry, I meant to say Jordan and I called him Donald Trump. What does that say? Nothing, I'm just tired. Jordan has done extensive reporting on the lead poisoning in East Chicago, Indiana. He reported on how 12,000 people had been ordered to evacuate their homes that were built on lead smelting plants in West Camulet, Indiana. And that basically is a minority, poor population, and that really didn't bother Mike Pence whatsoever because he only cared about the white, wealthy constituents that were going to be voting for him and the people that he believes are probably more worthy of his aid. There was, in Greentown, a majority white area, they had lead problems. He went and helped them right away. But in West Camulet, let them suffer a little bit, let their children hurt. It's totally fine. How about his extremely draconian law after the gay marriage decision was handed down in the Supreme Court? Sensing that or it was right before, sensing that that decision might happen, Indiana Christian right-wing leaders, including Kurt Smith, head of the Indiana Family Institute, where Pence was once a board member, got behind the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, a bill that essentially would allow business-owning Hoosiers to discriminate against gay customers. It had widespread GOP support, and Pence saw it as a consolation prize since the Supreme Court was likely to make the right's quest for anti-gay amendment pointless. He told opponents the bill wasn't anti-gay, merely pro-religious freedom. Ah, what a way to spin that one. And then the photograph came out. It featured Pence signing the RFRA into law, surrounded by monks and nuns in habits, and three men of the Indiana Right Apocalypse, Indiana's Family Institute Smith, Micah Clark of the American Family Association of Indiana, and Advance America's Eric Miller. The press was not allowed. Smith has said that homosexuality is outlawed in the Bible along with adultery and bestiality. Clark was once a proponent of gay conversion therapy. So anyway, he's signing this bill surrounded by nuns and monks and people that are proponents of gay conversion therapy and believe that it's the same or in the same realm as bestiality. Religious freedom. Right. I think I know what you mean by religious freedom. You mean your religious freedom, right? He's Michelle Bachmann in a suit. And that's the vice president who has a favorable rating throughout the United States. How about when he signed a law that required fetuses, after they were aborted, to be cremated or interred, so it would be accurate to say that the law requires funerary services for any aborted or miscarried fetus, irrespective of gestational age or duration of pregnancy. So basically, once the fetus is aborted, they have to be cremated or have some sort of ritualistic burial experience. It's too much to say it's a funeral service, but it's weird, dude. His draconian views about abortion are just really out of date and also so harmful emotionally for a mother who's already going through this horrific and not even horrific, but difficult decision and experience. Pence also signed a controversial anti-abortion law that would have banned abortions of fetuses sought over gender, race, ancestry, or diagnosis of a genetic disorder. The law also criminalized fetal tissue collection or transferring, God forbid we have science about this, a practice that is vital to life-saving fetal tissue donation and research, including for the understanding of Zika virus, which the Republicans slammed Obama for not getting on right away, and required women to view the fetal ultrasound hours before receiving an abortion. Freedom in America. Mike Pence. You got it, dude. The law was so far-reaching that women in Indiana began calling Pence's office to tell him about their periods, since he seems to care about women's reproductive health so much. A federal judge blocked the law in June, but he still tried to do it. So, the idea that this guy isn't being called out as a religious zealot psycho every single day on the mainstream media is pretty idiotic. They call out Bernie Sanders, for example, for, you're sympathizing with Castro. Oh, aren't your ideas radical? Aren't you insane? This is radical. This is insane. And it's against every polling measure and every numerical measure about what Americans want. It should be seen as radical. People don't want this. People don't want people like Obamacare now. People don't want these abortion laws in place. A majority of Americans favor abortion. This is extreme. This is by definition extreme if you look at the polling. But then you have the anchors on CNN who are so afraid of being called right-wing going after progressives when they don't hammer people with these extreme right-wing ideologies in the same manner whatsoever. Ugh. Alright. So maybe share this video so people start figuring it out. Mike Pence is a scary dude. Maybe even more scary than Donald Trump. And the media should be calling it out. Have a good day, guys.